Testing. 1, 2, 3. Is this too red? My lipstick. Maybe I should go more red or more pink. I didn't even put nothing on my cheeks. Let me see. This is a see. You see how you can put blush on your cheeks just that quick? Yeah, a little rouge. Just to brighten it up, honey, because these winter months for me makes me extra pale. So this brightens it up just a little bit. I have to learn how to put makeup, real makeup on. That's what I plan on doing. Sylvia, hi guys. Yes, welcome to Migrant Wednesday, Migrant Crises Wednesday. Wednesday shows, which is by me, Dana with the data, the real Dana. I focus on the migrant crisis, which we are, but I am going to incorporate some pop culture, and we do have some pop culture BS today, and that would be the Corey Holcomb versus Anton Daniels, because I did watch Corey Holcomb's show last night, 5150. He had over 20,000 people in his live, and he said, some things that were interesting. I can't watch those type of shows far too long because I feel like I'm getting dumber. Like my all of my intelligence starts seeping away. But I wanted to watch it because I wanted to hear what he had to say about Anton Daniels, because yesterday was officially 1 week before their viral blowout beef. And of course, Anton has been talking about it all last week. We all content creators have been eating off of it very well. But he said something that was disturbing, and that was beneath him, even being a man or anybody, a woman, anybody. And I'm going to get to that a little bit later, because I did put a poll. I put a poll and I asked you guys, what do you want me to talk about first? And Mamdani on The View, majority is at 39 right now, 40%. So, and then the Minnesota fraud, and then a Corey and versus Anton. And that's how I'm going to present the show. So we got to talk about Mamdani being on The View. That's not going to be long. And then we got to get into the Minnesota fraud, because today Congress held its first congressional hearing, and Nick Shirley was there. I was trying to find clips, but they didn't clip them up yet, and I don't got time for that. But it was what, 2 hours. Nick Shirley said what he had to say, and he did very well. But there are going to be some arrests made, some subpoenas. Tim Walz got a subpoena. So does the mayor of Minneapolis. He got subpoena as well. So we got to talk about the Minnesota fraud. And then we're going to get into the pop culture BS with Corey Holcomb and Anton Daniels. So guys, let's get started. Let's see. Oh, should I go this way? I could see cancel. I could go like this, right? Yes. Let's see video. Oh, no, not this. Share screen. Let me go here and here. Because we're going to be watching and seeing communists in action, him presenting his communist agenda. Burnt out court. Yes, it is. The whole thing is burnt out, but it's embarrassing. But I am going to get to that. But listen, before we even get started, guys, please hit that like button. Please share this video on your social media platforms. Get into the chat. If you would like to send in a donation, you can do so via Super Chat, or you can send it via Cash App. Where is my information? Which is $ Dana with the data, which is below. Yeah. And I was thinking about opening up the phone lines. Maybe I will. I don't know. And just to see how we are on time. But like, share. And let's get started. Let me make myself a little better. Yeah, it'll be right there. All right, so let's get into it.
Mr. Mayor, both you and Trump won on the issue of affordability. Both of you did. Interesting. But now he claims the economy is booming, and he's levying new tariffs on our NATO allies because they won't give him a Nobel Prize or support his takeover of Greenland, which we discussed before. What do you have to say about that? I mean, he claims that the word affordability is a made-up word, that the Democrats made it up. It's a con job. Yeah. So, speak to it.
Are you going to take over Greenland?
No. I think oftentimes you try to talk to a New Yorker, you show them statistics, you show them how good things are, and what they'll show you is their life.
Right.
And what I hear from New Yorkers is they cannot afford their life anymore. And it's not about lavish desires that they have. We're talking about housing. We're talking about their rent payment.
Right.
You know, we're talking about childcare, groceries, Con Ed, you know, just getting on the bus.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the reasons that on January 1st we had our inauguration, that I then went to meet with tenants, is that yes, it's the inauguration, it's the beginning of a new term, a new administration. It's also the first of the month. And New Yorkers, frankly, don't care who the mayor is. If it's the first of the month, they have to pay their rent. So that's what we need to be focused on. And I think that's my job, frankly, in the most expensive city in the United States of America. How do we make it affordable, not just in a way I can point to, not just in a graph I can open up my suit and say, look at this, but you feel it.
So how do you do that? What's like one thing that you can do to lower the affordability, to make it more affordable?
I think one of the key things is childcare, frankly, because $26,000 is a good deal a year for childcare for a single child. It's more expensive than if you sent that kid to college 18 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
The other key part here is housing, right? We have... Yes. Housing. Look, we have... The housing crisis is the #1 crisis in this city. We have 8.5 million people, more than 2 million. They live in something called rent-stabilized housing, where every year the city decides if their rent's going up or if it's staying the same.
Right.
For the last 4 years, all they've seen is their rent has gone up and up and up, more than 12%. And I told those New Yorkers, I believe they deserve a rent freeze. They deserve to have the peace of mind to wake up one day and know.
You can do that.
That's what the Rent Guidelines Board can do, and we appoint every member to that board. And I believe that they're going to see tenants deserve that relief, because landlords are making 12% increase in their revenues. Tenants, median household income, $60,000.
Right.
Mayor, so last time you were here, you condemned Hamas.
Let me just pause it right there real quick. So he's absolutely right as far as the lack of affordability in New York City. But putting a rent freeze, to me, is just one step for a solution to the problem. Are you going to lower the cost? Because the people of New York, they're already paying a high rent. So you're just going to freeze it at that high rent price. You're not going to decrease it. Of course not. But are you going to let people be eligible for some type of subsidy assistance, to at least 10 or 15% of subsidies that can go towards their already high rent, even after you freeze it? And how long are you going to freeze it? For 1 year, 2 years? Because that's not going to be a permanent freeze. Because if it is going to be a permanent freeze, then you're going to have to compensate the owners, because their mortgage interest and taxes are going to continue to go up. So it's not a one-trick pony with the affordability.
But your office has hedged or delayed strong condemnation of pro-Hamas demonstrations. And one of your first acts as mayor was revoking executive orders related to the definition of anti-Semitism and lifting restrictions on boycotting Israel. A staff appointee, which I know you've spoken to this a little bit with Alyssa's question, had to resign over resurfaced anti-Semitic social posts. How do you answer to Jewish New Yorkers, which is the largest population outside of Israel, who still don't maybe feel protected under your administration?
So this is an administration that will root out anti-Semitism across the 5 boroughs. And you're right that we signed an executive order on the first day revoking every order that the previous mayor had taken after he was federally indicted. The reason we did that was because it was a day when New Yorkers looked at City Hall and said, I don't know what's motivating these actions anymore. Is it the indictment or is it the interests of the city? And another order that we did ourselves was to keep the mayor's office to combat anti-Semitism. This is an office and an administration that looks to fulfill those words, that commitment we've made, increasing funding for hate crime prevention programming, increasing security for Jewish New Yorkers outside of synagogues and temples, and also saying that the rubric we judge ourselves on cannot be are we keeping Jewish New Yorkers safe? It has to also be, are we celebrating and cherishing them? Because that's what it means to feel like you belong in a city. That's what we want to do for
Especially
every
New York.
Especially New York.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, this is a
So let me just pause it right there for right now. Here's the thing. Okay, as far as the Jewish community feel as though they're being isolated, the Jewish people are not the only ones that are being picked on. And I'm really getting tired of that narrative as far as, what are you going to do to protect the Jewish community? And his reply should have been, we are looking to protect all New Yorkers, not just the Jewish community, because the Jewish community is not the only one that quote unquote gets picked on. So, and that narrative, and Hamas and all that, honestly, that is old news. That is old news. I have not seen any story come out of New York that made headlines or that the news were reporting of any anti-Semitic or hate crime against the Jewish community in New York City. So please stop it. Focus on the rent. But I want to play this clip here of a New Yorker telling speaking to the real reason why rent is so high and continues to go up.
Y'all want to know the real rent crises in New York and the problem? It's buildings like this going up. How the hell can a one-bedroom in this building cost $3,350 in Flatbush, Brooklyn? Just think about it. How much money you have to make to afford a building like this in the hood? They say 30% of your monthly income should go to rent. So in order for me to afford a building like this, I gotta be making at least $11,100 a month. How many transit workers, teachers, police officers, firefighters, and other city workers can really afford that? None. How about this building right here on Linden Boulevard? If you want a 2-bedroom, you gotta be paying $4,000 a month. Who could really afford that as a city worker? None. I can guarantee you, no middle-class landlords own those buildings. Crazy thing about it is for that price, you're getting an apartment the size of a closet. The middle class is not leaving New York to buy mansions. They're leaving New York because it's cheaper to rent a house outside of state than to rent an apartment in New York City. These politicians love talking about the poor, but they have officially abandoned the working and middle class in this city. This is not gentrification by accident. This is displacement by design. The other tricky part when it comes to affordable housing is either you make too much and you can't get the apartment, or you make too little and you can't get the apartment. There's a lot of city workers that fall into that gap right there. You cannot call it affordable housing if you need a 6-figure salary to qualify. When rent eats up 50, 60% of your paycheck, that's not housing, that's economic punishment. Transit workers, sanitation workers, nurses, we're not asking for luxury, we asking for stability. New York City don't have a people problem, it has a rent problem. Politicians who never worked city jobs don't understand city wages. Let's be clear in New York City, the middle class isn't shrinking, we're being evicted. And when these buildings go up, guess who has final approval? The city council. So when people ask me what politicians do I trust? None.
Exactly. And I always say this, do not trust a politician. Everything he said in that clip, he's absolutely right. They're being priced out because you are allowing these big time, developers to come in and build up these luxury high rises for only a certain class of people, the upper class and the wealthy. Well, what about the millions of New Yorkers that are, especially the city workers, the teachers, the fire department? A majority of New Yorkers do have a city or a state job. So are you going to pay them more so that they can qualify and and be eligible for affordability programs? So they're getting priced out on both ends, and what it sounds like, because everything he said is true, what it sounds like is like this Ponzi scheme that is going on. Mamdani, has he ever? Yes, he was city council of New York, but he's rich, Mamdani. He's not no grassroots pull yourself up by the bootstraps, immigrant or socialist or communist. No, he's rich. He has a few millions. So, and a lot of these politicians and a lot of people he appointed in his administration, just like past administrations, this their first government job, or they come from money. So they don't know what it's like. They don't even have a clue. Everybody's just out of touch, and they keep regurgitating the same talking points when it comes to affordability. Now let's get into the anti-ICE comments that Mamdani said.
Midterm year, 2026, meaning Democrats have a chance to regain some power. You ran such a successful campaign, energizing young, disaffected voters. What is your advice for the party at this point? How can they connect with the way you did with young voters? I mean, I've seen so many young people that voted for the first time because they wanted to vote for you. How does that translate to the Democratic Party?
I think oftentimes there's a condescension that people have when they talk about young voters. They kind of finger wag, they lecture, they tell people, you should just get out there. And we don't actually ask them, what would it take to bring you out here? What would it take if we went from lecturing to listening? And when I talk to young people, what I hear from them is they feel like the only way they can stay in the city is if they keep living with their parents or they leave the state entirely. And we have to make it a place where they can actually aspire to dream in this city. And also treat them with the seriousness that they deserve. Because what we'll find in our young people is leadership. We always hear stories of parents who bring their kids to the polls. I met a lot of grandparents who told me, my grandkid told me if I don't vote for you, they won't let me home. I think it's a reversal sometimes of who's leading. And I think that can come if we give people an opportunity to tell us what it is they want to see in their politics.
Well, Mr. Mayor, in light of recent events, there have been renewed calls from prominent Democrats to abolish ICE. I want to know where you come down on abolishing ICE and if you believe that ICE has any legitimate law enforcement role.
I am in support of abolishing ICE, and I'll tell you why. Because what we see is an entity that has no interest in fulfilling its stated reason to exist. We're seeing a government agency that is supposed to be enforcing some kind of immigration law, but instead what it's doing is terrorizing people, no matter their immigration status, no matter the facts of the law, no matter the facts of the case. And I'm tired of waking up every day and seeing a new image of someone being dragged out of a car, dragged out of their home, dragged out of their life. What we need to see is humanity. And there is a way to care about immigration in this city and in this country with a sense of humanity. What we're seeing from ICE is not it, and we have not seen that from them in a long, long time.
Tonight, Pentagon officials say 1,500 active duty soldiers are on standby for possible deployment to Minnesota. This comes as ongoing clashes between federal immigration agents and protesters remain charged. Those troops would be deployed only if President Donald Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, which has not been used in decades.
Fox 9's So Young Kim joining us now. And So Young, political experts are weighing in on where this all goes from here. How do they see this possibly ending?
Fox 9 political analyst Blois Olson says there needs to be productive talks between Minnesota and federal leaders at some point.
Daily protests of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown in Minnesota have stretched into a second week, escalating into violence at times. Now, Pentagon officials have ordered 1,500 troops to be ready in case of a possible deployment to Minnesota. That development was confirmed by two defense officials to the Associated Press Sunday. Here's what we know. The official says 2 infantry battalions of the Army's 11th Airborne Division have been given prepare to deploy orders, so the active duty soldiers are standing by. The unit is based in Alaska and specializes in cold weather operations. They would be deployed only if President Donald Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, which he threatened last week. Presidents have used the law more than 24 times in its history. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey responding to this development on CNN, saying he will not be intimidated. We asked Fox 9 political analyst Blois Olson what are possible ways this situation could end.
I think it ends by some sort of agreement between the federal government and the state to cooperate with regard to immigration detainers. I know that the state does cooperate with immigration detainers if the state has already detained someone in our prisons. But jails, local law enforcement, the state patrol, BCA haven't been working with ICE.
Olson says that path forward should include negotiations.
I feel as though every day there's one more level that Washington wants to take it to. And I think that, Minnesota has to engage. I think there is some engagement to find a way forward, a better way forward, a more productive way forward.
And the Insurrection Act was last used by President George H.W. Bush in 1992 to end riots and unrest in Los Angeles. Live in studio tonight, So Young Kim, Fox 9.
All right, thank you, So Young. And right now,
So let's pause it there. So here's the thing. Mamdani, Ilian, and all these Democrat liberal lovers want to abolish ICE. For what? Because my next question would be, what are you going to replace ICE with? Are you saying that we should no longer arrest and deport illegals? That they should just come and stay? Or the ones that are already here should just stay because the border is completely closed, right? Land, air, and sea. So everyone should just stay here because they're already here. Get rid of ICE, send them home, abolish the ICE agency, and let's just go on as regular business. No, it don't work like that. Because there are a lot of people that are here that are terrorists. They are terrorists. They're going to end up doing something to our energy, compounds, facility, or whatever. They're unvetted. They're criminals. So what are you going to replace ICE with? Or are you saying we should not be deporting anybody? Then how are you a politician? How are you in Congress or a mayor of a city and you are not even following the laws of the Constitution, state or federal? What do you want to replace ICE with? What do you want to do with the criminals? Because you guys locked them up in New York City and you let them go and gave them a court date, which they were not showing up to. You were not cooperating with the federal agencies, DHS. You were not. What you were doing is locking them up, letting them go, and telling ICE and the Trump administration, go find them at your own will. But at the same time, you have these crazy ass radical protesters that are paid protesters in just the state of Minnesota trying to disrupt.
I felt horribly when I was told that the young woman who was had the tragedy. It's a tragedy. It's a horrible thing. Everybody would say, ICE would say the same thing. But when I learned her parents and her father in particular I hope he still is, but I don't know, was a tremendous Trump fan. He was all for Trump, loved Trump. And, it's terrible. I was told that by a lot of people. They said, oh, he loves you. He was I hope he still feels that way. I don't know. It's a hard situation. But her father was a tremendous, and parents were tremendous Trump fans. It's so sad. It just happens. It's terrible. Halted all refugee admissions to the United States, including from Somalia, which is a terrible, terrible place, another dangerous place. And we also stopped the pirates because they get the same treatment as the drug boats. So in Somalia, the Somalians, you know what they're good at? That's about the only thing they're good at is they're good at pirating ships at sea, big ships. So you have a huge oil tanker with millions of gallons, millions of barrels of oil. And if it gets hit by a big weapon, the whole thing blows up. And they don't want to fight because if they do, they're told by their insurance companies, do not hand over the ship. And they're not allowed to have any guns on the ship. They're literally, you have these massive ships being taken over by a Somalian small boat with a big weapon. Because if they hit the side of
Fox News alert, Ilhan Omar under investigation after racking up millions while she was in Congress. Senior national correspondent Kevin Cork has it. What's up, Kevin? Good to see you, my friend. What's the old saying? Follow the money? Well, that's precisely what the House Oversight Committee is doing. They are probing squad member Ilhan Omar's skyrocketing family wealth, Jesse, especially in the wake of that $9 billion, some would argue $19 billion, Somali social services fraud scandal that exploded in her district in Minnesota. The oversight chair, James Comer, says his team's lawyers are exploring the extraordinary step of subpoenaing Omar's spouse over his curious business practices. Republicans want to know how the Somali-born Omar and her politically connected husband Tim Minette went from being nearly broke to being worth around $30 million in just a year, according to her 2024 disclosure forms. Quoting Comer now, there are a lot of questions as to how her husband accumulated so much wealth over the past 2 years. It's not possible. It's not. And he's a money guy. Minette and his partner, Will Haler, back in 2022, formed an investment firm, Jesse, named Rose Lake Capital. They had $42 in their bank account at the time, but in a year, up to $25 million, according to Omar's filing. By the way, he also has a wine business that went from next to nothing to millions on its books. Not surprisingly, associates were so perplexed about the irregularities, they brought information and attention to the feds to, look into it. Now, for her part, the Congresswoman has repeatedly, and I say defiantly, denied any wrongdoing while being also careful to criticize the ongoing probe. But, sometimes they say, Jesse, the ones who yell the loudest have the most to hide. Well, innocent until proven guilty. I'm sure everything was perfectly legal. We're just checking to find out. Kevin, good to
I'm sorry, guys. You can hear me? Yeah. Everything was legal. Now, they're going after her husband. Because a lot of times when they go after your family, when they go after the family, then it's easy. That's like a backdoor to go after the main person, which is Ilhan. Because how did you come from making $100K plus a year to 20 million, 5 million, 20 million in 12 months? But here's the thing. I don't have a problem with Ilhan Omar being investigated. However, I want all of Congress, all of these politicians need to be investigated. Nancy Pelosi, she retired. She retired. She ain't stupid because she knew that flashlight was going to be on her ass. Maxine Waters, all of them need to be investigated. Because they all came in, even AOC, they came into their congressional seats, Senate and the House, very modest, unless you came from money. I'm not talking about the ones that come from money. The ones that did not come from money, you came starting, I'm throwing in Jasmine Crockett too, 150. And then in a year, in 2 years, within 5 years, you're worth 20 million. That's unheard of. As a politician in Congress, even if you're a politician in a state. No. So all of them have been actively participating in some type of fraud. It's just that Ilhan, her state, her people are on Front Street right now because I never heard of a $19 billion fraud in one city, specifically in one state, in one city, $19 billion gone. Governor don't know nothing. The mayor don't know nothing. Ilhan, who is the state representative, don't know anything. Congressional representative, she don't know it. Nobody knows nothing. But you guys are the ones that have to sign off on it. You guys are the one that appoint oversight committee. And these are temporary immigrants with temporary status, immigrants that end up becoming citizens, and illegals, all in on it. But then you have protesters out there trying to dox, trying to get in the way of ICE doing their job. It's crazy.
see you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most
halted all refugee admissions to the United States, including from Somalia, which is a terrible, terrible place, another dangerous place. And we also stopped the pirates because they get the same treatment as the drug boats. So in Somalia, the Somalians, you know what they're good at? That's about the only thing they're good at is they're good at pirating ships at sea, big ships. So you have a huge oil tanker with millions of gallons, millions of barrels of oil. And if it gets hit by a big weapon, the whole thing blows up. And they don't want to fight because if they do, they're told by their insurance companies, do not hand over the ship. And they're not allowed to have any guns on the ship. They're literally, you have these massive ships being taken over by a Somalian small boat with a big weapon. Because if they hit the side of the ship can blow up I mean, you talk about a blow up. Bad, we've seen some bad things happen. And the insurance companies, some of these ships cost more than $1 billion to build. And the insurance companies say, look, we'd rather give them money than take a chance on $1 billion insurance policy. But they don't have to worry about it because we hit them the same way we hit the people with the drugs in their boat. They don't know what the hell happened. But all of a sudden, there are no pirates at sea. Do you notice? We haven't had a boat taken in a little while. Came out of Somalia, really corrupt place. It's not a country. They don't have government. They don't have anything. I always hate to.
Here's a question I want to ask. Everything that he's saying that is so negative about Somalia, is it racist? Can something and this is what you have to know. No, it's not racist. Anything that is true, it cannot be racist because it's true. It cannot be a bigot remark because it's true. And what he's saying about the country of Somalia with the pirates are true.
See this, Ilhan Omar, she comes from Somalia, a backward country, probably the worst country. They say it's the worst country in the world, if it's a country. I don't even think it's a country. There's no organization, no anything. They don't have police, they don't have military, they don't have anything. They just have people running around, killing each other and trying to pirate ships. But she'll come here, comes, and then she wants to tell us how to run our country. The Constitution says that I am entitled to this. I can't stand her.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Well, I think it's like a record.
I know he can't stand her. He can't stand Ilhan, and it is because the fact is that how dare your people come here, and you were able to come here because the United States with Black Hawk Down gave you a pathway to citizenship, to have a wonderful, flourishing life, to try and pursue the American dream. And y'all Somalians robbed American taxpayers $19 billion, sending cash through the airports, funding the pirates and whatever terrorist groups allegedly that you have over there, living a luxury lifestyle. Yeah. Now, it's fraud in Ohio. It is fraud, people committing fraud who are not Somalians. Nobody is not disputing that. But the Somalians are on Front Street right now. And when this passed, then we're going to focus on everyone else as well. But Ilhan, she has the flashlight up her ass right now. And it's getting serious.
You brought up the Feeding Our Future. This is such a strange series of events. I had no idea that Ilhan Omar was actually behind the loosening of federal regulations for meals served. And then, lo and behold, Ilhan Omar, who is now married to one of Keith Ellison's the top campaign aides and so on, she had all of her friends then start defrauding the federal government after her bill passed. And I think it's high time that people start looking into Ilhan Omar. Where did she get all of her funds? Where did she get $30 million? How did she profit potentially from some of these scams? It seems like as soon as she passes a bill, the Somali community is lockstep to take advantage of it and defraud the federal government for hundreds of millions of dollars. Can you give us an update on investigations into Ilhan Omar? And
well,
Congress?
Specific to the Congresswoman, that would take place in the Ethics Committee, which I think is appropriate. That's the right way to any type of examination of a member should be in the Ethics Committee. But the broader question is it looks to me like it wasn't in Minneapolis and in Minnesota. It wasn't just, oh, we're going to kind of look the other way. It was also that they were almost assisting in what was going on, and there were political reasons for doing so. For example, this program, Feeding Our Future, there was a point where it was actually cut off. The Department of Education in Minnesota was saying, we're not going to keep passing federal funds on to this organization. So they stopped it, and then a month later they restarted. And I asked the question a couple of weeks ago in a hearing here in D.C. I said, why did it restart? And the answer given from one of the representatives in the Minnesota legislature says there was a threat of a racial discrimination lawsuit. So they played the race card. They did what the left typically does. The left will tell a lie. We're feeding kids. Media will report the lie. Oh, what a great program. And then when you tell the truth, no kids are getting fed, they call you a racist. And that's what they were planning to do and started to do. And then what did Minnesota, the elected officials and the government do? They turned the money back. They turned the spigot back on. And then the political advantages, because there was a meeting where the Attorney General met with some of the leaders in this program. And a few weeks later, he starts getting campaign contributions to his campaign. So that's the real angle I think we need to dig into in a broad way with the governor, the mayor, the Attorney General, and anybody else.
Yeah, and he's right. Because the first thing they do is say, you're picking on me because I'm Black. Even though the Somalians never claimed to be Black. They're only Black all of a sudden now, right? But Democrats, that is their number one playbook. Play the race card, play discrimination, and then we're going to play the race card and apply it to immigrants. We're going to play the race card and apply it to illegals, anti-ICE. ICE is a slave patrol. And I'm just going to do a video calling out you Black people, Black Americans, not the African Americans, not the Black Americans, you Black Americans that is sitting your ass up on podcasts, on TV, echoing the same nonsense as Jasmine Crockett saying ICE agents are slave patrols. How dare you? And these are supposed to be scholars and, people with some type of intelligence. See, they always want to play the race card. That is the Democrats and these liberals go to. And people are tired of it. Even Black people, Black Foundation of Black Americans, it's like, no, this is not a race thing. This is, you broke the law. The last administration let all these criminals come in here. And then even the criminals, along with everybody else, you will give them all this free shit. While I'm paying $4,000 a month for rent, $2,000 a month to live in a box in New York City, but you putting the illegals up in a hotel, give them all this free stuff off of my tax dollars. And I can't even afford my rent. I'm living in a shithole apartment with a slumlord who keeps increasing my rent every year. But you letting illegals, criminals and all, come here and you give them all these free economic resources. But it's races, there's ISIS slave patrols. Right.
So these are.
And then you get mad at this man when he let loose the ICE agents, which is what I voted for. Oh, he's a racist. No, he's cleaning up your mess.
Accomplishments. We have a lot of accomplishments. And as you know, this is the anniversary, first anniversary, January 20th. And it's been an amazing period of time. We have a book that I'm not going to read to you, but these are the accomplishments of what we've produced. All page after page after page, individual things. I could stand here and read it for a week and we wouldn't be finished. But we've done more than any other administration has done by far in terms of military, in terms of ending wars, in terms of completing wars. Nobody's really seen very much like it. I think it's appropriate that because Minnesota is so much in the fray, and I say to my people all the time, and they're so busy doing other things, they don't say it like they should. They're apprehending murderers and drug dealers and a lot of bad people. And these are just some of the more recent ones that we have. And I can show you some of the people, vicious, many of them murderers. These are all out of Minnesota, just Minnesota. I say, why don't you talk about that more? Because people don't know. Do you want to live with these people? International murder. These are people that are living, they're apprehended and either put in jails in their country from where they came, and the countries respect us, and so they actually put them there. In the old days, they didn't respect our country. Biden wouldn't do this because he let them all in. You know, if you didn't have open border policies of Biden, none of this, all of the things that all of the time that we spend talking about Minnesota and everything else, most of them are coming from out of the country. And it's been caused by a previous administration. Look at this, one after one. Boy, these are rough characters. These are all criminal, illegal aliens that, in many cases, they're murderers, they're drug lords, drug dealers, they're the mentally insane. There's some of them who are brutal killers, they're mentally insane. They're killers, but they're insane. These are just in Minnesota, California.
So
the panel lost it after Scott.
Oh, that's too soon for that one. So that man sitting up there showing you the proof, showing the proof of what is going on, what ICE is doing, who they arrested, who they captured, who they're deporting. We are forgetting that a lot of these illegals are committing crimes on U.S. citizens and committing crimes on the innocent illegals that are here, immigrants that are here, that are women, that are children and mothers and families as well. Don't forget, Mandora, before the United States went in there and took his ass up out of there, under the Biden administration, Mandoro, he opened up the prisons and let them join the caravan that was coming here and were able to enter into the United States. So it was an increase, a dramatic increase of crime in the United States, in these sanctuary cities, in these sanctuary states, because of the criminals that were allowed to come here under the Biden administration without even being vetted. But you want to be anti-ICE. You want to call them slave patrols. People who came here by their own free will, getting all types of free funding and committing crimes and tearing shit up.
And that pastor really did a remarkable thing there, trying to protect his parishioners.
And even the parishioners, I imagine, have felt and feel intimidated. And
they did. And there's going to be arrests in the next several hours, Greta. There will be arrests tied to that. And people will be brought to justice for how they violated the law in that situation.
Well, Don Lemon is a journalist, and so I thought he was going, and so when I first saw it, I assumed he was going in as a journalist covering it. I mean, I go into bad places and ask questions all the time. But when his comment about the white supremacy all of a sudden made me think, well, maybe he wasn't there as a journalist.
Yeah, well, Greta, not only that comment, but the fact that ahead of time, before this even happened, he said that he'd conducted some surveillance before they went into this church. He identified individuals that were going in with him that were activists in the work that they'd done in the past. The fact that this entire situation was then posted on the Black Lives Matter website, all of that is something that they're going to be responsible for.
Well,
and that pastor.
So Don Lemon, you know what I find funny? I uploaded a video on my other channel because when this show, I put them up in clips and then I upload on another channel. And the Don Lemon, I had Don Lemon and Nicki Minaj on a cover. It didn't get monetized. And then before I uploaded on that channel, I uploaded on this one because I was going to upload it, but then I took it down. But when I uploaded it, it didn't get monetized. So this is what the Democrats do because liberals have a stronghold on media, social media, legacy media, and the press and radio. They control it. And Don Lemon is protected by the Alex Soros, the BLMs, and all those communist, socialist, liberal lunatics and Democrats, right? He's somewhat protected because everybody could be touched. And I think what they're doing is media damage control, trying to, anybody that's talking about Don Lemon, that's that's against what he did and those other lunatics, because what they did was just horrific and so disrespectful. They're suppressing them. They're suppressing them, or they're not going to monetize your video. I don't know what it is, but Don Lemon and every single protester that trespassed and bombarded in that church should be charged under every single violation of a law. You guys remember the church in South Carolina, that shooting? A young white boy walks in while they were having their weekday prayer service, walks in, sits down. He wasn't even disruptive. And then we all know what happened after that. You have a crowd of an angry mob coming into a church in the middle of service, yelling, shame, shame, shame. Kids are there, women, and they're like, what is going on? Anything could have happened. And he has a microphone trying to interview the pastor and other people like an idiot. That's not journalism. And then you get mad at Nicki Minaj for tweeting something about you sexually insulting Don. And then, yeah, he did give her a good read. But I'm sorry. A lot of people are flawed. We are all flawed. But what Don Lemon did, and then you're trying to justify your actions, is horrendous. And I'm sorry, Trump administration, you say you're going to do this, you say you're going to do that, people are going to be arrested, people are going to be charged. I want to see it happen because a lot of times with the Trump administration, and this is my critique to you, Trump administration people, you drag your damn feet. You drag your feet too much to where you drag your feet hoping people forget about it and you do nothing. Don Lemon and all of those protesters there should be charged. I'm waiting for that to happen. Whether they get found guilty or not, whether they get thrown out, I want to see the DHS, Christy Nom, Pam Bondi do your job. Because Pam Bondi is not going to last throughout this Trump administration. She's not. There has not been not one arrest. She has not won one case. They can't get Letitia James. Lisa Cook she had her hearing in Supreme Court today. They didn't release the Epstein files. The Charlie Kirk assassination, like that trial didn't start yet, but that has nothing to do with Pam Bondi. But what I'm saying is, if the Trump administration, are you guys all bark and no bite? Because the Democrats is just giving a big F you. That's what they're doing. Oh, F you. That's the only thing you Republicans are going to do is just talk, 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 talk. No action. So F you, and we're going to keep turning shit up. We're going to keep the heat on ice. We're going to keep doxing them. So yeah. So are you going to really bring charges against Don Lemon and those protesters, or is it just all talk? Because people are going to side with you because everyone is saying that was horrendous. That was horrible. So let me go into, and I'm going to swing back to the migrant crisis, but let's go into this Corey Holcomb thing here. Okay, this is in the clip where he did. Okay. I want to go into the Corey Holcomb thing, and then I'll swing back to the migrant crisis. Guys, please like the video, share the video. I do have a goal if you would like to send in a super chat. Thank you to Michael for the super chat. I want to get into this. Oh, no, not this. So a week ago, Anton Daniels went on Corey Holcomb show. And it turned into a shit show. It did. Two niggas just talking mess. It would have been a very good show. It would have been a very good show had Anton not said what he said. Because after what he said, the show went left. People want to say, well, Corey is not that smart, or Anton he doesn't really know. It doesn't matter. In the beginning, the conversation was good. It was entertaining. And I wanted to hear more about the different topics they were going to talk about. Anton has a problem of insulting men and insulting them by trying to feminize them. He does. He also has a reputation of being disrespectful to women at one point. Because I seen what he did with the Lapeef network. And when I noticed how he was moving with that, it's like, you shady. That's some dirt bags shit. But let me swing it back to here. So after that whole interchange, after that show last week went viral, and I'm talking about hitting Yahoo News and other legacy media outlets, all of social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course YouTube, us content creators were making videos, as we should, talking about it. Anton went on his show the next day talking about it, dragging Corey, calling him a punk, yada, 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 the whole week. Then it got kind of quiet. Corey didn't say anything. He didn't release any videos. He does his show every Tuesday, once a week, every Tuesday, his live show. So he waited to Tuesday, which was yesterday. And I wanted to tune in for the bullshit. And bullshit it was. Because we all knew he was going to go in on him. And he did for over an hour. And it was entertaining. It was entertaining up until a certain point. It was entertaining up until you brought up this man's daughter. Talk about the wife. Talk about the side piece or the alleged side piece, because I don't even think that's even his side piece. Anton wants that chick Mecca to be his side piece. She is not sleeping with that man. She ain't sleeping with him because she don't have to. I should have made this whole show about that, but no. I should have made this whole show about them, but no. But anyway, that girl, Mika or Mecca, doesn't have to sleep with Anton, and she's not. Because what Corey Holcomb was saying on his show, and he said, Darlene, tell us what you observed in the parking lot. From that alone, it's just that Anton lied to this girl, saying, I'm going to put you on this show, but then come to find out, you never even asked Corey ahead of time if she could come on the show. Why not? Because you wanted to get her, you wanted her to be around you and be with you, because you was hoping that she would sleep with you during this trip. She wants to get put on, I guess, with podcasting. So what you do, you collab with a bigger podcaster. That's what you do. It's not wrong with that. But he wants to sleep with her. And how do I know he wants to sleep with Mecca? It's because you lied to her to impress her, to get her on your side so you can make yourself look like, you see all this stuff I'm doing for you? But she's not sleeping with him. Just of the story alone that Darlene said her interaction when she saw Anton in the parking lot and they shook hands and hugged, but the girl went straight to the door to get into the studio thinking she want to be on camera. And then Anton comes in there and said, "Oh, can my friend come on the show?" They was like, "Oh, hell no." Corey said no. Well, why didn't you ask Corey? So yeah, so that's that. That's not his mistress. Anton want her to be his mistress. If she's smart, if she's smart, I don't know her. She knows she doesn't have to sleep with him. He just wants to sleep with her. Anyway, let's get back to the dirtbag, Corey Holcomb, because he called himself a dirtbag. He said, "Yeah, I'm a real dirtbag," because he brought up Anton's daughter, who is a minor. She's under 18. She's a minor. She's a teenager. She's a minor. She's not even 18. She's under 18. He said, "Yeah, I'm a real dirtbag." And yes, Corey, you are a dirtbag. Because you should never bring up anybody's children if they are under 18. They have nothing to do with this. And even if they wasn't, they have not. His wife doesn't have anything to do with it, but they're an adult. You never bring up children just because you are upset and mad or don't like the parent. You put that girl picture up there. You called her ugly. You belittled her. You are a dirtbag for life. That wasn't funny at all. Anybody with common sense would not be entertained with that. And any man that thinks, well, he was just getting back because Anton said a whole bunch of stuff about him, but Anton never talked about his kids. I don't know if Corey has kids. Anton never talked about his wife. Matter of fact, the next day when Anton went live and somebody was bringing up, something about Corey Holcomb's wife or girlfriend that may have been on his, Anton said, "Listen, I don't talk about no man's or nobody's situation. I don't talk about people's wives." Because I guess he is married. He said, "I'm not going to talk about Corey's wife. They have nothing to do with it." He don't talk about people's wives or kids. You just don't. Stick to me and you. Because you have a problem with me. And that I will give Anton credit for. And I believe him with that. But for this dirtbag to bring up that young girl and to put her picture out there, knowing that these kids today, they're always on their phones. They are looking at the things that us adults look at and listen to. There is a thing of cyberbullying. And Anton spoke to that today. And I'm going to say this. He chose and highlighted certain words that tells me a lawsuit may be coming. And he will be in the right of doing it. He used the words, Anton used the words today on his show, psychologically damage his daughter, possibly therapy, staying home from school, having to change their plans because, she's supposed to be traveling for sports. Now she has to change their plans because that whole show went viral. There were words he highlighted to describe how low this dirtbag went for talking about his underage daughter. Civil lawsuit, not criminal, but it could do damage to your YouTube business, possibly. But who wants that type of heat? Whether you are a comedian or not, you intentionally put a picture up of a minor and belittled her. Is that against the law? No. But the damage, the psychological, mental damage that could bring harm, that could be damaging to a minor is definitely liable. You have grounds for a civil lawsuit. Case in point, Kevin Samuels. The slogan, average at best. Do y'all remember that episode? He had that girl on his show. And that's when Kevin Samuels blew up. Now, she was an adult. And she chose to come on camera, right? And she chose to have a back and forth dialogue discussion with Kevin Samuels. And he said, ma'am, you are delusional because you are only average at best. And that thing went viral, not just nationwide, but worldwide. That woman sued him and won. And she's an adult. She chose to be on camera. She chose to have a discussion. She chose to stay and have a discussion with him after he said that. Why she sued him and when is because of the psychological, mental, and possibly physical damage that happened to her after that exposure. So he paid the bitch off because he didn't want to deal with you. A lot of times you just settle to get rid of it. But she did bring forth a lawsuit and won. She got some money. And she's an adult and consented to having a conversation. But his underage daughter did not consent to anything. Her parents did not consent to you posting her picture up there. Her parents did not consent, or nor did she, to you to belittle her and call her ugly and all of these negative things that now she probably is too embarrassed to face her peers. Because they don't tell them what she was dealing before, if she was dealing with anything before. So yes, Corey is a dirtbag because he calls himself that. And I concur, sir, you are a dirtbag. You are donkey of the year. But both of them, I'm going to give the donkey of the year to both of them because this all started with two men. And I'm not going to even go the race route and say two black men because I could go there. But two grown-ass men who have very high profiles on social media, making hell of a lot of money. They have a brand, they have a following, they entertain people, even though Corey is a comedian, not Anton, but what they do is for the purpose to entertain people. And you could not have a civil discussion about a multiple of topics. It had to go left. And I get it. Corey had to stop the show from going any further to address him. Don't you disrespect me, whether you in my house or not. You don't say that to another man. And he was right. But the fact is that they couldn't move on from it. They could not move on from it. Anton ended up leaving. He was still talking about Anton when he left. A week later, for the whole week, Anton was talking about him. He did his show yesterday. He was dragging Anton, brought up the wife. And so, you know, a lot of old videos as content creators, you got to just put on private because it could come back and haunt you. And I remember that video when I first saw Anton Lapeef, and you go to their channel and you look at the old stuff. I'm like, oh, his wife is there talking about, you know, how their marriage was in the beginning. But when Corey played it last night, it's like, well, you know what? It kind of makes sense now on why Anton says the things he say. And I get that. But for me, and maybe for a lot of other people, and definitely for the legal system, when you bring a minor into a situation, all bets are off the table. I also heard, to give another example, that Pearly Things, that's her name, she got a lawsuit. I think it was when she was in London because, you know, people have the microphone to go out in public to interview people and ask them questions. And one of the people that she put the microphone to was under 18. And the parents probably said, who the hell are you to interview my child without my consent? And I don't know what happened with that. This is what I heard allegedly. You know, that it was some type of civil lawsuit. Then YouTube demonetized her channel. I think she got her monetization back after a while. The point that I'm getting at here is when you include minors When you include anybody under the age of 18 in any type of discussion, you open yourself up to major problems. In America, we can sue you for anything. Whether you win or not is something totally different. Whether it gets thrown out by a judge or not is something totally different. But why invite that type of headache? It wasn't funny, Corey, dirtbag, Mr. Dirtbag. It was unnecessary. It did not even go with the flow of the conversation of you trying to drag Anton, because he is a good father from what I could see. Takes care of his daughter, always been in his daughter's life, providing for her, not abusing her. So what you bringing up his kid for? For anything, you're highlighting that he's a good father. Oh, you just want to call her ugly? Come on. Corey, you are a dirtbag. You a nigga. In the worst type of way. Nigga is something that is negative. Nigga means an ignorant person, and that is what he is. Anton got a lot of negative shit with him too. He a nigga too on certain things. However, he knows how to dip in and dip out. I believe Corey lives in the world of niggerism, of niggadom. Because I can't respect any man or woman that have to shit on, belittle, or bully a minor, a child, someone who's under 18. You could talk about the alleged side piece. You could talk about the wife. You could talk about the man himself. You don't talk about anyone under 18. You just don't. So yes, Corey, and I'm not going to play this video. Fuck him. You are a dirtbag. For real, for real. And you shouldn't care. You know, I've heard little, you know, he goes and some people complain he always going in on a woman or whatever. That doesn't matter. I don't care about his history. I don't care what he said about anybody in the past. I don't care. Well, it could be funny, it could not. It doesn't matter, because you know what? He was talking about adults. He was talking about public figures. So we do have free speech, freedom of press, free speech, all that. But there are limits when you are talking about the people under 18. Disgusting. Yeah. You're trying to trigger Anton. I don't care. It's other. You could have triggered him with the alleged side chick. You could trigger him with the wife. If you feel as though you had to bring in his daughter to trigger him, that lets me know you ain't really have nothing to stand on to clap back. You didn't have a real clap back. And then your production people, they didn't have the videos or the pictures ready, because he had a flow. It's a flow that you kind of want to do when you're doing a show, you know, as you're talking about this, and then you bring in the picture for that. It has to be on cue. Them niggas in the background doing whatever the hell. And he's sitting there like, okay, so I guess we ain't gonna play the video. So, you know, that joke, that dialogue didn't hit, and it didn't hit. And then eventually they brought in the video and then a picture. It was just, it was a nigga show with niggas operating in the background, your producers or whoever the hell. Craig wasn't saying much, because honestly, he was probably over it. And it's honestly, and when I heard what the daughter's like, dude, where you going with this? Where you going? You ain't going nowhere with it. No, I did. First of all, Juggernaut, it's a poll in here. Did Corey Holcomb go too far? It's a poll in there. 59% right now saying yes. So I'm not going to put another poll. It's like, what? Even if the majority say it was not cool, the majority of people a lot of times could be loud and wrong. So, and I'm sorry, even if the majority, even if you guys say it was cool to talk about someone under 18, something is mentally wrong with you. Mentally wrong with you. First of all, she had nothing to do with it. The alleged side chick had something to do with it because she was there. The wife technically didn't have nothing to do with it, but you're married to him, so 1 and 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, but y'all equal 1. What is that? You come together, man and wife, you become one. That thing, yeah. So anything that's going on with him, the wife is going to be all up in it anyway. But someone under 18, the daughter, it's like, where are we going? Oh my God! Hold on for a second. What is this? No, iconic. It wasn't comedy, you idiot. It wasn't funny. It was not. I'm just like, oh, okay, this is where we're going. You know, and when I saw Anton's show today, and I was gonna play his clip, I don't feel like going through all that with the timestamps. I don't feel like going through all that. When I played the clip, no, when I saw Anton's live morning show today, I even said to myself, nigga, I know what you're doing. You're setting it up. Lovely execution. Because I'm just like, ain't no way in the world. Like, okay, the show starts at 5150 show starts at 11 p.m. Eastern. It ain't probably into like 2 o'clock in the morning. Your child was still asleep. So we don't know if she got bullied or anything yet. And he was talking as if all this stuff happened. Maybe she woke up to some messages. Because again, I'm not a teenager now. Me being a teenager, we didn't have cell phones and all this social media stuff. Or on what's that? The WhatsApp, the chat, the Snapchat, and all that. So she could have woke up to some stuff. But he used keywords. New sub first live. Love you too. RIAG Lupop. I didn't want to say your name wrong. She has to go to school. It's that, yeah. But and you know what? She could have woke up to some mess. She could have woke up to, girl, your picture was on there because the kid supposed to be asleep, but a lot of kids ain't sleep because they on their phone at night. See, a lot of children are not supervised. Then she going to school because I'm pretty sure she heard about it by the time she got to school because he does his show like 10:30. It's Detroit is still Eastern time. Yeah, 10:30 a.m. So she already at school. So she probably did hear some stuff already. It could have been a clip that somebody from her school posted, and then you read the comments. Psychologically, it does something to you. It does something to the adults. So I know someone under 18 is going to psychologically do something to them, reading negative comments. Oh, she is ugly. Oh my God, look at her. I can't believe he did that. Ooh, honey, blah, 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 blah. She go to my school. Girl, she be going to my school. She friends with such and such. Oh, you know she dated such and such. All that for something she had nothing to do with. Because this dirtbag, this piece of shit, this non-funny ass, washed up comedian didn't have anything else to clap back at and want to bring in the kid. That's not funny. I listened to his words that he used, and I'm like, yeah, honey. Because he ain't stupid. Yeah, honey. You gonna get cease and desist. You gonna get a civil liability lawsuit claim. You gonna get a notice from some type of legal expert. I'm pretty sure he has the resources and allegedly the money. He got time. He got time for this. He got time to play. You know what? You won. He got time to play that victim. Anton was playing the victim card today. The only victim here was the daughter. Not Anton, not Corey, not the wife, not the alleged side chick, the daughter. Corey should have just stuck to the conversation of the side chick, the alleged side chick, and Anton, and sprinkle in the wife. Because that's an interesting story there. Because when Darlene was saying, yeah, he introduced himself, he didn't introduce her, she bolted for the studio door. And I'm like, oh, she ain't fucking him. She's not. She's using him. It ain't nothing wrong with that. But he wants to fuck her. If she's smart, she would keep her knees together. Because you would get more when you keep your knees together. Especially with a simp like that. But that ain't his side chick. Mecca is not his side chick, honey. That was revealed to me yesterday watching the show. Because when you look at the interaction between people, he lied to get that girl out there. It sounded like they flew on separate planes. He probably paid for the plane and paid for her hotel room and probably a separate hotel and flew her back. She had a round trip. He is a very generous simp. And you don't have to sleep with simps. That's what I'm saying. And if you ain't sleeping with them, you ain't no side nothing. That's all in his imagination. Honey, I'm 49, about to be 50 this year. Don't play with me. I know how the game works. I know. And I am going to end the show on this conversation here. Because I'm over the hour. I don't give a fuck that he didn't say her name. He showed her picture. How many people under the age of 18 watch his show when they need to be sleeping? See, kids today, they have access to everything. A lot of parents are not putting parental guidelines on it. They're not. A lot of parents let their kids roam on the internet. These kids, they're more sensitive now. They have access to more gossipy BS. They're joining in with the celebrity tea mess. You don't got to say her name. You put her picture out there. Somebody knew her. When he posted her picture, somebody she knew was watching his show. It just takes one. And then they get online and then it spreads. By the time that girl woke up, she looked on her phone in that Snapchat group that she's probably in with her friends, and they're talking about her. See, I could tell a lot of y'all don't have no kids, or if you do, you're horrible parents. Because you know what? Yes, honey, I'm 49. Don't I look young? I would say 39, but that means I'm about to hit 40. Don't I look 35? If that was my kid, I'll be doing Anton doing. I will be using certain legal words that sets you up for the civil lawsuit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. You hit people in their pockets. Like that, like the alleged side chick, the non-existent side chick Mecca, hitting Anton in his pockets. You gotta hit people in their pockets. That's when you know they're gonna take you seriously. You want to know if a man like you or not? Is he investing in you? With his time, with his wallet, with his resources, with his knowledge? Is there some type of investment? If there is, he likes you. Anton likes Mecca. Anton wants to sleep with Mecca. Mecca is not sleeping with Anton. Mecca is not attracted to Anton. Mecca has no interest in being in his side chick. Mecca wants a flourishing podcast. And you collab with someone who could get you there. But yes, honey. Yes, yes. His daughter woke up to all the bullshit that she had nothing to do. And it sound like, and I believe she's one of those good kids. Go to school, do their work, listen to their parents. They're in sports. You got to keep kids in sports. That keeps them out of trouble. You know, and you go through that awkward looking age in high school or whatever. She's a normal kid. And you're waking up to the bullshit. And as a parent, and I will side with Anton on this because I will say this watching his show today. It is some embarrassment. I could tell he was probably a little bit embarrassed or ashamed that your child, not the wife, not Mecca, but that your child is wrapped up in this bullshit. Because when he was telling us all the things that his daughter is involved in, yada, 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 yeah, my child's getting wrapped up in bullshit I started. No, that's not a good feeling. And I think because he probably really did think that this dirtbag would not go that far to bring up a innocent person who's under the age of 18. So I never watched 5150. I just knew of his show. I may peeped in there once or twice, but you see clips. I never really paid attention to who Corey Holcomb was as far as his comedian career. I don't give a shit. But what I picked up with his behavior last week and then fast forward to this week, people are who they are, and that's fine. But when I see, okay, you will go that low, you're a piece of shit. And you're always going to be a piece of shit. You're always going to be a dirtbag. You're always going to be a dirtbag. And that's it, guys. Thank you. It says great skin. Thank you. That is it. Yeah, he was angry with pettiness, but it's the pettiness that it was just corny pettiness. Like you could be petty and funny as hell. I could be petty at times. But that was like that like dude, you not even that shit didn't even hit. It didn't land. No. New Yorkers are saying that mayor has raised transportation fees and have homeowners put their houses up for sale for private businesses. First, I'm texting so fast. I hope you could read. I read it somewhat. Thank you, Journey Flowers. Rent freeze is counterproductive, actually. Yes, I'm just highlighting some comments I seen earlier. Don't start on the I can start with whoever hell I want to start on. I'm not saying anything that is anti anything. What I'm saying is I have an opinion about every single group, and I don't know why people think you cannot criticize a group of people who is part of the Jewish community. I can say this that Jewish people, Jews, the men, they are known to be slumlords. That's not racist. Because honestly, you look at the data, it's true. Oh, I'm doing a pre-record show of the scams, honey, of the mortgage scams that group, the small hats, are doing when it comes to real estate. Everybody could get it except for people under the age of 18. Thank you again, Michael. Dana, you are wrong on this. This is forgetting history. You caping for Republicans. You getting paid. No, baby, I'm getting paid on my own. This is independent over here. I'm not hooked up with a group or organization or sponsor or corporate. No, I don't. I'm not hooked up with a Republican Alex Soros type. No, baby. You don't know your history. What's this? Tobo Ray? You don't know your history. Thank you, Go J 2038. Thank you. All right. Listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining the show. Oh, was I muted? Oh, shit. Okay, I'm not muted now. Thank you, Black and Silver. Thank you. Thank you for joining the show today. I really appreciate you guys. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. And when you subscribe, hit the bell button. And if you already subscribed, make sure you hit the bell button. Like this video, share this video. I have a Patreon. Me and the judge have a Patreon. The link is in the description. Please join the Patreon. I need to focus on marketing the Patreon. But I'm giving, I have a goal. I want to have 1,000 members by the end of this year. So that is my goal for the Patreon. So go and subscribe to the Patreon. What's for dinner tonight? The gym. I'm going to the gym tonight. That's what's for dinner. That's what's for dinner. And I'm going to drink a shake. So you heard him talk about Black children in general. Did you hear him talk about a child or children and put their pictures up saying that they are ugly? It's a difference. It's a difference to say, well, Black children of the day, they are blah, 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 blah. That's one thing. But it's another thing to say, you see this girl here, you see this boy here, or you see these kids here, they're ugly. Look at them. Ooh, ain't nobody gonna marry them, and you got their picture there, and you know, this is a real, and you could connect who their parents are, who are on social media. So now you could go and harass, cyberbully, or bully those kids. It's a difference. You know what? I have an idea. You know what part of my Patreon is going to be? Because it's all original content. I'm going to have the judge give 10-minute explanations on the law. Not give you legal advice, but to explain the legal system. Because I'm sorry, honey, y'all have no clue on what is acceptable and not acceptable to where you are liable or non-liable about. All right. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. Say bye to Beyonce.